Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm so excited to see so many of you here right in the morning session. So welcome to Momentum 2013, the inaugural conference for U.S. IT and BPO services. We're really glad to see you're here. Glad to see everybody here. So domestic sourcing is on the rise. Let's go through there. So if you talk to, we have a lot of pure-play domestic providers here today, and if you talk to them, they are experiencing growth rates of 50 to 150% over the last 2-3 years. And it's not just anecdotal evidence. You can see that the research organizations have starting to notice this trend. You'll hear from HFS Research today, and they've done a study that's available to all of you on our website, where they've looked at the new demand for domestic sourcing. And a couple key points is that 1/3 of enterprise buyers are actually interested in sourcing IT services here in the United States, and almost 20% are actually doing it right now. In addition to that, they're starting to acknowledge that the gap between offshore and onshore in terms of cost is narrowing, and that's making it easier for them to justify that to their organizations. Gartner put out a study recently also, and they've said that their inquiries on domestic sourcing have actually risen by 60% this past year, and that was after a similar increase the year before. So there is true interest from buyers, and we're starting to get some research in the area. I put up this list just to show you. This is just us trying to track who's opening up new offices. And you can see that we have quite a few of global service providers as well as domestic providers opening delivery centers. I really think we can't go 2-3 weeks without us seeing another press release of who's opened an office. So you do see this trend that people are trying to set up delivery offices. I mean, if you talk to all of the global service providers, it's on the agenda. So we really see that this is on the rise, and up to us to see what we can do with this over time. One thing I want to note about the conference is that this is not about onshore versus offshore. It really isn't. It's about what role can America best play in the global sourcing arena, and how we as industry leaders can increase our competitiveness over time. So that's the real goal here. It's the goal that we hope to have in the future organization as well. So why now? Why are we doing this conference now versus 5 years ago? As I said before, you're seeing a big uptick in the growth of the domestic service providers. Really, the demand is here now. You are starting to see buyers who are asking for more work to be done onshore. I think you'll also see that the quality of what we're getting onshore in terms of the domestic providers has increased significantly. And I think one of the reasons for that is you're also seeing a lot from people from the global sourcing community, like myself, who is involved in offshore work, that you're seeing them kind of embrace U.S. outsourcing and think about the role U.S. has to play. So I think that, along with the fact that we actually do have an IT skills gap. I mean, if you look, I think the unemployment rate in IT is just around 3%, which is half the national average. And so you'll see that there's a lot more interest coming from all of the service providers on what can we do to get that number higher. So I think it's a perfect time for this conference, for hopefully an organization to be formed that's promoting U.S. outsourcing, with the convergence of kind of all of these factors coming together. And you'll hear a lot more today about, why. I think there's a lot of discussion on kind of why the demand now. And so we have a lot of good speakers who will be able to talk about that. So objectives for this conference is really, one, just to increase the awareness on U.S. outsourcing. Okay? And two, we really hope that this conference serves as a catalyst for the industry to get together to help promote U.S. outsourcing. We are one of the only countries, actually meant to pull this, but I'm thinking of all the countries that are very dominant in outsourcing in general, and we are one of the only countries that does not have an organization to promote it. To promote U.S. outsourcing. And we are 42% of the money that is spent on global outsourcing is spent in the United States, the largest, North America, let me say that, North America, and we don't have an organization to help ensure that we keep as much of that over here. Okay. So economic development agencies and government agencies, oops, let me go back. We are really hoping that we arm you with the information here today to help bring service providers to your regions, as well as help shared services centers, so you have more information so that you can promote your regions. For buyers and influencers, we really hope that this is going to provide a platform for you to discuss the challenges and benefits of domestic sourcing and give you some knowledge of how to integrate domestic sourcing into your overall global delivery models. And for service providers, we hope that this is not only a platform for you to promote your organizations, but also one for you to share best practices and help educate the buyer and influencer community on domestic sourcing models. So, as I said, we really hope that this is just the beginning. We really hope to build a community of government agencies, service providers, advisors, buyers, all working together to help promote U.S. outsourcing. The ultimate goal of this is to have a professional organization that is dedicated, very similar to NASCOM, but dedicated to promoting the U.S. outsourcing industry here. So please, yesterday we actually had a meeting of a few key leaders to brainstorm what the objectives of this group would be and next steps. So we are really, this is a corporate event. This is a very as grassroots as a corporate event as could get to pull this conference together. So we really need support of any kind. And so if you're interested, just please email me personally, email the Momentum site, and we'll get you involved in that effort. Okay. So on to today. We have a very exciting lineup. Today is all the main sessions. I'll talk about Ron here a little bit later, since he's going to be our first keynote. But Calvin Rhodes is actually is our closing keynote tonight. He's the CIO of Georgia, and he is going to talk about how he's maximized off domestic sourcing in what I think right now is the largest IT transformation project going on in any state. So he'll be our closing keynote. Phil Furst from HFS Research will be talking about his most recent research on the demand for U.S. outsourcing that he's done, and he's also going to moderate a panel of buyers who've recently, in the last 2-3 years, started using domestic sourcing and their experiences. We have case studies from Amway, Hudson Bay, and IBM, and we also have some really good panel discussions on workforce development and how to integrate domestic sourcing into your overall global sourcing model. So tomorrow, a very important part of this conference that we felt was to actually go visit some centers. And so we are actually visiting rural sourcing, and we're going to Augusta, Georgia tomorrow, visiting rural sourcing, which is an IT services firm, ADP, which is a shared services center that has 1,000 people, so general multifunction BPO, and a company called WOW that has a call center in Augusta, Georgia. And we have our special guest, Mayor D. Copenhaver, and he has been phenomenal in terms of economic development in Augusta, Georgia, and has been very supportive of bringing in services companies, so he'll be with us for lunch. We have a few more seats on the bus. We can get more, so if you are interested, we're kind of all busing over there in the morning. Can go see Dawn and Tess at the registration table, and we definitely can take a few more to Augusta tomorrow. Okay. So help us spread the word if you are a social media user. These are the handles and hashtags. So today or the next day, we're really trying to make sure that this gathers, as we say, gathers momentum, no pun intended, so that more people get involved in this effort. Okay. And last but not least, I really want to thank our sponsors for their support. It was, as I said, this was a very, I don't think any of us realized how difficult it was to pull this together, and all of our sponsors realized that this was not just about, lead generation at a conference, that they wanted to be part of something bigger and the ongoing movement, and that's really why they supported us. So please go visit their tables, talk to them. They're really kind of big supporters of this effort, and that's really why they're here. 4 people especially I want to thank personally, who were very early supporters, and without them, this day would not have happened. Monty Hamilton from Rural Sourcing is the reason we are in Atlanta. He jumped on board right away, wanted to be part of the site visit, so thank you, Monty, and has been, phenomenal in helping us get the word out. Ron Hira, who I cold called in the beginning, sometime in February, and he was like, who is this person calling me? And he did his due diligence, and since then, it's not just about the conference. He actually really helped me set up meetings in D.C. to help try to talk to them about services and why they should care about services in the United States versus just manufacturing, which is part of Ron's talk later today. Phil, who jumped on board, Phil First, is our research partner and is offering free research to the conference, and again has done a great job, and hopefully will do a lot more research, which we badly need on the domestic sourcing industry to come. And the last is, and I haven't seen him yet, Eugene Kublanov from KPMG. Again, he's an old friend and kind of jumped on board right away, and I think, without these 4 people, we would not have gotten here today, for sure. Okay, so with that, I'd like to get to our first keynote, which is on how domestic IT and BPO services can create jobs in the United States and the role for policy. Dr. Ron Hira is an associate professor of public policy at the Rochester Institute of Technology. He specializes in policy issues around technology innovation, offshoring, high-skill immigration, and the American engineering workforce. His book, Outsourcing America, was a finalist for Best Book in the PMA's Benjamin Franklin Awards. And here is an expert on offshoring, testifying before Congress a few times, and served as a consultant to various companies and government entities. He is also frequently quoted and interviewed by major media outlets, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and NPR. And with that, I'd like to welcome Ron Hira to the stage.